If you look closely, you'll see that there is a good size hole in the side of this shirt. Hey, I'm Liz from No Trace, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to fix a hole in a shirt. Now, the way this hole has been created, the fabric has gotten a little bit chewed up. So I am going to show you how to do a little bit of darning or sort of weaving across this hole to get it back in action. Now, if the hole were a lot simpler than this, it was just a seam that had split open, you could definitely just flip it over and sew the seam closed. But this fabric has been damaged. So if I sewed across, there would be a funny little indent in the side of this shirt. So instead, let me show you how to repair this. We are going to be using some embroidery floss and an embroidery needle. And if you have a little embroidery hoop, that's helpful too, but you definitely don't need this. And you should be able to get embroidery floss at your local craft store. I would get it in the same color unless you want an accent on your item of clothing. I don't actually have the exact color for this shirt, so I'm using a color that will pretty much blend in for this project. The first thing to do is to iron the area, and I've got my iron on. And then once it's nice and flat, I actually want to tidy it up a little bit because some of the little bits of fabric have turned into little stringy things that might get in the way as I go to weave it. This is a good size hole too. This hole is, about a couple inches or so. If the hole is tinier than that, you'll probably need even less intervention or repair work. Okay, so the area is fairly flat. So now I'm going to just take a minute and just tidy up some of the dangly parts. I've got my little scissors here, and I save all my tiny bits. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I save my tiny bits in my tiny bits bin, and these get repurposed in other creative projects. If you're working with all natural fibers, you can also compost your tiny bits. If you work with like cotton or linen or wool or hemp. Okay, getting some of these cut off. And let me know in the comments, what kind of shirt are you fixing? And is it for yourself or is it for someone else? Are you fixing, this is actually my friend's shirt that I am fixing because I like fixing things and I don't have a shirt with a hole in it right now. Okay, so the area is a little bit more tidy. Maybe I'll iron it just a little bit more. And now this is where you would get your embroidery hoop out if you have one. As you probably know, an embroidery hoop has two parts. So you want to place the complete circle to the back side, and then you want to place the top part with the tightening piece on the top of the fabric. And then I'm just going to tighten it a little bit. And this fabric is thicker than regular embroidery fabric. I use a linen, so this one is a little bit harder to tighten. There we go. But I think I'm gonna get it. Okay, all right, looks good. So now I'm gonna take probably about 3 feet or so of embroidery floss. I don't like to work with a huge length of floss because it tends to get tangled if it's too long. So a few feet is good. And now I'm going to take the end and thread it through an embroidery needle, which has a large opening to make this easier. Also using a little bit of spit can work wonders when you're trying to thread this. All right, and I am going to tie a knot at one end of my floss just because it's going to make things easier for me. But if you are experienced with floss and you can hold on to it as you work with it, then you don't need a knot. All right, so this is what we're trying to cover. And basically what I'm going to be doing is coming from the back to the front and creating several rows of floss going up and down over this opening. So let me show you the first one. So I'm going to start at the back, and I'm going to start to the side of the tear. I'm actually going to start about a 1/4 inch to the side of the tear so that I can cover the whole area with my floss. Okay. Why is it sticking through like that? Okay, there we go. So now I'm on the top. I'm going to go all the way up past. I'm going to grab a little pinch from the fabric and come back down next to where I started. Again, I'm going to grab a tiny pinch and try not to make a knot here. And gently pull. And I'm trying to get these strands as close together as possible. I don't want to pull them super tight because I still want the shirt to be able to sort of lay in a natural way and not have like a weird bunched up spot. Okay, so I'm just going to gently pull on my strands so that they are relatively flat. I'm just going up and down, grabbing a little pinch of fabric. Okay, I have made it across the opening, the tear rather, with all of my vertical strands, and you can see that they are completely covering the tear, so that the tear, I mean, you can still kind of see the tear, but you can't see the tear anywhere on the outside of the threads. So once those vertical strands are in place, I'm going to take my embroidery thread. I had to get another strand, by the way. It was time for 2 strands. And in this step, I am going to be weaving over and under each of these strands with my needle. So over, under, over, come here. And then again, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, over, under, over, under, over, under. Okay, I made it all the way through, and now I'm going to pull the thread through, and I really want it to be as close to the bottom edge of my vertical strands as possible. So I might even sort of tug on it to get it kind of down close to that bottom edge. So once that first strand is across, I am going to go back across, but now I'm going to go over the strands, that I went under, and vice versa, to create a weave of floss. So I'm going to go over, under, over, all the way across. Okay, I've made it back over another horizontal strand across, and I've been alternating. So I'm just going to repeat that process of weaving back and forth, doing the opposite direction each turn, and tucking the thread down until I get to the top, and then I'll show you how to finish it up. Okay, I almost forgot an important step, and that is that for all the horizontal strands, you also want to grab a little bit of fabric when you reach the end of the weaving. So just like we did for the vertical strands, it's a good idea to grab a little bitty piece of fabric and then keep on weaving. And that'll just help your horizontal strands stay in their spot and stay connected to the fabric. So actually forgot to do that. Whoops, for 2 of my strands, but that's okay. I'll remember for the rest of them. Okay, I finished all of my horizontal lines and I went as far as I could until it started to get really difficult to weave over and under. So that's where I'm stopping. And so now it's all we have to do is weave the thread back into this or tie a knot on the back. I'm going to do a knot on the back. So I'm just going to push my needle through the fabric to the back of the shirt and tie another knot here. But you could also weave your thread back into your horizontal and vertical strands. Just sort of randomly weave it in there and then trim it. So it's blended and it's buried over several stitches and then it's very unlikely to come out. Or you can just tie a knot on the back, which is what I'm doing. So there's gonna be a few knots on the back of this shirt, but I think that's okay. So we could take a look. Not bad. I wish it had the right color, but I think that this repair is gonna give the shirt a little bit more personality and interest and hopefully get it back in action. So there's the little repair job. You can see it off on the side here. And if I hold it up for you, you can kind of see it. Yeah, it's pretty noticeable, but I like it. And it's gonna keep this shirt back in use. Not bad, not bad. Maybe I'd add another one for even more flair. If you're looking for more mending and repair jobs like this one, I am linking to a playlist right here. So check it out.